Uju informed him of her pregnancy and they were both excited. As they were talking, Uju noticed blood gushing down her legs, and to her terror, she had lost the pregnancy. Once upon a time, there lived a man named Wosu. Wosu was a very wealthy man, known around the village for his wealth. All the young women in the village had eyes for him, but he only had eyes for one woman named Uju. Wosu and Uju were best of friends when they were kids, but only reconnected recently when Wosu returned back to the village after years of being away. Wosu traveled to a faraway place many years ago, and no one heard from him till he returned a very wealthy man. He loved Uju so much, but feared that bearing his feelings to her would put a strain on their friendship. They spent time together, catching up on lost time, and one day, whilst they were talking, a woman approached them, requesting to speak to Wosu. Uju had no idea who the woman was, and when Wosu returned, he told her that the woman was a messenger sent by his mother to pass a message across to him. Wosu's mother had requested his presence in her home, and Wosu urged Uju to accompany him to go see his mother. Without thinking twice, Uju agreed, and they set out on their way to see Wosu's mother. When they arrived at his mother's hut, Uju was welcomed by the same woman who introduced herself to her as Ogadi. Ogadi seemed welcoming and nice, and when Uju asked Wosu who she was, he revealed that she was a poor widow who lived with his old mother. He told her that Ogadi had two little daughters, and his mother took up her care when her husband died. Uju felt sympathy for the woman on realizing that she was a widow. She tried to make friends with her, and they spoke for a short while till Wosu was ready to leave. Uju bid the woman farewell as she left with Wosu, who escorted her back to her father's house as it was already getting late. When they arrived at Uju's father's house, they met Uju's father standing outside his hut, and he did not seem pleased to see them together. Uju's father had always warned his daughter to stay away from Wosu, but Uju turned a deaf ear to her father's warning, claiming that Wosu was her best friend. Her father, on seeing how adamant his daughter was, made plans for her to move out of the village into the big city, as all her life she had always dreamt of living in the big city. Later that night, Uju's father informed her that she would be moving to the big city in a few days, and Uju was so excited about the news. She jumped up in jubilation as her dream was finally becoming a reality. The next morning, Uju rushed off to Wosu's hut to inform him that she would be moving to the big city soon. Wosu, instead of jumping up in excitement, wore a concerning frown on his face. Uju, on seeing this, asked why he seemed unhappy, and without mincing words, he told Uju that he didn't want her to leave because of how much he loved her. Wosu, unable to hold back his feelings any longer, asked Uju to marry him. He bared his heart to her in that moment as he narrated how he had loved her since they were kids, and Uju was shocked to hear this as she never saw it coming. She too liked Wosu so much, but suppressed her feelings as Wosu never showed any form of interest in her. In that moment, Wosu pleaded with Uju to remain with him in the village as he wanted them to get married. Uju was so excited to hear this as she returned home to alert her father of the new development. Her father, on hearing this, dissuaded her from accepting Wosu's proposal, but Uju refused to listen to her father, who she knew never liked Wosu right from when they were kids. Uju's father was so agitated as he had already made plans for his daughter to move to the big city. He did everything possible to stop her from marrying Wosu, but Uju's mind had already been made up. Shortly afterwards, Wosu paid a visit to Uju's father to declare his intentions to marry his daughter Uju, and soon later they got married and Uju moved into Wosu's house to live. They moved around the village together and the people envied their relationship as they could see that Wosu loved his wife so much. One day, Wosu returned home with Ogadi. He informed Uju that his mother had sent Ogadi over to help her out around the house, and Uju was so excited as the house chores were already taking a toll on her. Ogadi was so hardworking and diligent in all she did. She would wake up early to tidy the house and prepare some food for Uju and her husband. Most evenings, she would also journey to the village stream to fetch water, and Uju was so happy to have her around. One night, Uju walked into her hut and heard a loud cry coming from inside Ogadi's room. Concerned as to why Ogadi would be crying, she walked into the room and saw her drenched in her own tears. "Why are you crying?" Uju asked, and Ogadi revealed that she remembered all the things that her husband did to her when he was still alive. Uju asked if she cared to share, and Ogadi revealed to her that her late husband once married a new wife and began to neglect her children and herself as he showered his new wife with all the love he had to share. She asked Uju what she would have done if such a thing had happened to her, and Uju, unsure of what to say, told Ogadi that she would do everything within her power to chase the new wife away. Uju was fuming in anger as she told Ogadi that she would never allow another woman to do such a thing to her. As they were talking, Wosu returned and Uju left Ogadi to go attend to her husband. The next morning, Ogadi approached Uju with a delicious meal that she had prepared, and they both sat and discussed as Uju ate the delicious meal. The bond between Ogadi and Uju grew as they fast became good friends. One day, Uju woke up and realized that she was pregnant. She was extremely excited and could not wait to share the news with her husband, who was away for business. She excitedly told Ogadi, who jumped up in excitement and couldn't stop screaming in joy. Uju was so grateful to have a woman like Ogadi in her home, as she was not only a good friend, but a kind woman who always had her interest at heart. When Mosu finally returned, Uju informed him of her pregnancy and they were both excited. As they were talking, Uju noticed blood gushing down her legs, and to her terror, she had lost the pregnancy. Uju could not believe what had just happened. She began to weep uncontrollably at the loss of her pregnancy as her husband comforted her and assured her that everything would be alright. A few days passed and Ogadi assured Uju that she would be pregnant again in no time. She told Uju of the several miscarriages she had in the past and the fact that she was still able to have two beautiful children. Uju, seemingly consoled by Ogadi's words, made up her mind to stop crying. She became hopeful at the fact that another baby would come and this time the baby would stay. As months passed, Uju got pregnant again but lost it after a few weeks. This happened 2 more times and Uju could not stand the loss of her babies any longer. She decided to visit her father's sister, who was good with herbs. On her way, she came across a strange woman who said some shocking things to her. Uju, instead of listening to the strange woman, ran away in fear. When she arrived her father's sister's hut, her auntie gave her some herbs to boil and drink, saying that the herbs would be helpful in keeping the babies in. Uju returned home that evening, and the words of the strange woman stuck to her mind. She began to be more watchful and noticed something she had never noticed before. That same night, as Uju slept, she had a vivid dream that troubled her mind. For weeks, Uju remained calm and never told anyone about her dream or her encounter with the strange woman. One evening, Uju returned home from the market and heard some whispers inside her hut. She decided not to make any sound as she drew closer to listen. To her greatest surprise, she overheard a conversation between Ogadi and her husband Wosu. It was then that she realized that Ogadi was Wosu's first wife. All the while, Ogadi had disguised as a help sent by Wosu's mother to live with her, not knowing that she was her husband's first wife. Shocked at the revelation, Uju confronted her husband in that moment, asking him who Ogadi was to him, and Wosu, unable to deny the truth any longer, revealed to Uju that Ogadi was his first wife. It was then that the strange woman's words began to make more sense. The strange woman had told Uju to look closely at Ogadi's children as they all looked like her husband Wosu. Uju's heart sank as the truth unfolded before her eyes. She felt a mixture of shock, betrayal and anger. Ogadi, who had comforted her through the pain of lost pregnancies, was not just a helping hand but Wosu's first wife. In her confrontation with Wosu, emotions ran high as Wosu confessed that he hid the truth because he feared that coming clean would ruin their chances at happiness. Wosu apologized profusely, explaining that he had been trying to protect Uju from the stigma attached to having two wives. Uju, overwhelmed with a flood of emotions, decided to leave Wosu's house that very night. She could not fathom sharing her husband with another woman, especially one who had been living with them in disguise. As she packed her belongings, Ogadi approached her, remorseful and tearful. She explained her own side of the story, expressing regret for the role she played in the deception. Ogadi revealed that she had agreed to Wosu's plan, hoping to find a place in his life once again. Uju, torn between her anger and compassion, forgave them but decided that she was unwilling to be a second wife to Wosu. In their village, when a woman is deceived into marrying a man as a second wife, she is given the opportunity to choose if she wants to remain a second wife or not, and in cases where she refuses to remain a second wife, her marriage to the man will be annulled by the village elders. Although Uju forgave them, she agreed for the marriage to be annulled as she moved back to her father's house. Uju sought solace with her father, who, despite his earlier warnings, comforted his heartbroken daughter. He reminded her that life was full of unexpected twists, and what mattered most was how one faced the challenges. Uju then decided to rebuild her life as her father made plans to send her to the big city. There she met a very handsome businessman who she married and built her life with. They ended up having children, and Uju lived the remaining of her life happy with her husband and children. The lesson to be learned from this story is that no solid relationship can be built on deception and lies. It is better to tell a person the truth and allow them make their decisions based on such truth. Always remember that it might take long, but the truth always has a way of coming out, as there is nothing in this life that is hidden under the sun, I hope you enjoyed the story.
Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.